Hello. Hello and welcome. My name is Jeff Allen. I'm Regional Director for Southeast Asia World Monuments Fund, or for you trendies out there, WMF. It's my pleasure to welcome you to today's event, part of WMF's On My Watch series, exploring projects at sites included on the World Monuments Fund Watch. Every 2 years, the watch puts a global spotlight on 25 cultural heritage sites facing pressing challenges, bringing together individuals, communities, and leaders from across the public and private sectors to galvanize action for their preservation. Again, I'd like to welcome you all, and I really appreciate people being here. This is a great opportunity for us to talk about something that's very personal for me, and let's get on with it. Okay, so today I have some visitors with me, or a couple of partners, and I'm going to first show you something that I think gives a little bit of background before we get into the talk with my colleagues. Okay, today we're taking a closer look at the traditional Burmese teak farmhouses in Myanmar project. It's something that was started back around 2020. And if you see the first slide here, I'm now starting with in 2020, including these farmhouses on the World Monuments Fund Watch brought attention to the plight of Myanmar's unique vernacular architecture, featuring sophisticated wood joinery and carving, sturdy wood stilts that elevate living areas above ground. These farmhouses embody a centuries-long building culture in Myanmar, a country where agriculture is the main livelihood of 70% of the population today. Once abundant across Burmese villages, these architectural masterpieces are now disappearing due to rapid socio-economic political transformations in Burmese society. I wanted to draw your attention to some of the wonderful photography we're using from Tim Webster in the opening scenes here. These were done when the project was first initiated. Today, these farmhouses face a number of challenges, including rising prices of wood, preferences for buildings made of concrete, brick, and aluminum, rural immigration to urban areas, and political turmoil. This inclusion of the traditional Burmese teak farmhouses on the 2020 watch allowed WMF to support the research and documentation of this disappearing architectural typology before it was too late. We partnered with the Tianaderrah Foundation and its supporters, Nellie and Robert Gipson, and the Endangered Wooden Architecture Program, or otherwise known as EWAP, at Brookes University in the UK, to mobilize a team of architects, archaeologists, and engineers to document farmhouses in several Burmese villages. Through this research into their archaeological and architectural typology, symbolism, and usage, we have sought to preserve this important but undervalued cultural heritage. Joining me today in exploring the built heritage of Myanmar and WMF's work with these farmhouses are two distinguished colleagues. U Aung Soe Myint is an architect based in Yangon, Myanmar, with over 25 years of experience in architectural design and project supervision. His professional interests include eco-architecture, incorporating recycled building materials into his designs. In fact, it was some of U Aung Soe Myint's previous projects in private practice that inspired us to pursue this documentation project on farmhouses. Today, U Aung Soe Myint will help us to contextualize these houses through an exploration of Burmese culture and architecture, something that I can't do near as well as he can. Also joining us is my colleague, Waraporn Suwatchotikul. She is an architect and Southeast Asian architectural historian. WMF has worked closely with Waraporn since 2017, when she joined as project manager and architect on the World Monuments Fund Wat Chai Watanaran Conservation Project in Thailand. As field project manager for the Burmese Teak Farmhouse project, Waraporn has led our documentation efforts on the ground, and today we'll speak specifically about the work the team accomplished. As a reminder, before we get started, we will be answering audience questions at the end of this discussion. So please submit your questions through the chat at any time during this talk, and we'll go through as many as possible at the end. And if you're here as part of our Watch Network, we hope you'll stick around for a special Q&A with the panelists and me after this webinar ends. Thank you to all of you for joining us today. And let's get started with an introduction to this Burmese heritage by U Aung Soe Myint. Sir, Mingalaba.
Mingalaba. Hello, I'm Aung Soe Myint, Yangon-based architect. So let me start with the title, Burmese Teak Farmhouse Documentation Project. So in here, Burmese refers not only Burma, but also all the ethnic groups of Burma or Myanmar. There are over 100 ethnic groups in Burma. So they share territory with neighboring countries along the border. But some people lives not across the border. So let me start with my slide. So to explain about the term farmhouse. So next slide, please. So farmhouse description in the Burmese context. So the farmhouse refers so specifically to the farmer's or commoner's house, so distinct from farmstead. So normally the farmhouse, not to confuse with, especially for the Burmese people, farmhouse in Burmese is a ledor-a. The house is only built in the field for it's so ephemeral. So that's why I explained about that. And these simplest homes adhere to sumptuary laws that restricted them from resembling royal court properties. So they are very simple and very basic pitch roof. Some are only one story, but you can also see most of the building are house on stills, and the feature of basic pitch roof without tiers, no tiers roof, and Burmese people were prohibited from constructing using masonry less houses because become fortification. So it is also very interesting about the sumptuary laws. So next slide, please. So this is the Thai Loi longhouse. So actually this is the subtribe of the mountain Shan. So that longhouse is a communal house. So in Eastern Shan state, not only that Thai Loi people, but also Palau have the tradition of living that like that longhouse. And not only Palau, but also Kachin also have a tradition to live in that longhouse. So here is the photo, but you will see in next slide a very wonderful and illustration made by Conpat. You will see interior very clearly in that exploded view. Next slide, please. So variety and simplicity. So the Burmese teak house, according to the sumptuary laws, they built very simple form. So only a few wood carvings there. But here, very simple pitch roof. So, but you will also see the variety of roof forms in simplicity. Next slide, please. So this is just for example to record and architectural typologies. So based on Burmese commoner house or farmhouse. So you will see the roofs, very simple parallel to pitch roof arrangement. So in BTFH1, all of these are the very simple roof form. And next slide, please. And BTF2, you will see the separate kitchen with connecting space. So, and BTF3 also, it's a lower roof kitchen. Actually, the kitchen, they not on the same floor. So maybe one step lower than the main building. But BTFH3, you will see the kitchen on the lower roof. So maybe semi-detached kitchen. So there. And next slide, please. So BTFH4, so modified roof. So normally that kind of roof, so very similar to that kind of roof, in Burmese called Endangered. They're literally meaning royal roof style. So, or the roof granted by the royals. So, but in here, it's so a time of British in Burma, there were no sumptuary laws. So the house owner so replaced their simple pitch roof with that kind of roof. But actually, at BTFH4, some looks like a indoor count, but also they adopt the roof style of the Dutch gable. So then most of the simple pitch roof building so turn into that kind of roof. So next, but BTFH5, sorry. So this is BTFH5 is the typical roof style we can find in Lewe area, so near Naypyidaw Union Territory. So that is so unique style of pitch roof. Next slide, please. So bringing traditional forms to modern era structure. So on the left, you will see very simple village house. So there are Thai people and Shan, we call Shan, but we can see Tai Long or Tai Yai, the great Shan, and Tai Kon or Kong Shan from the Chaindon, and Tai Lian. Tai Lian is the red Shan, so from Kachin state. But all these Thai Kadai speaking people, they preserve and they well maintain the architectural style of their roof that you can see on the left. On the right, this is a colonial period architecture in the downtown Changdong. So you will see the similarity of the roof. They still conserve their culture and their roof style. And next slide, please. And here also, this is the subgroup of Thai people house. So on the left, you will see this is the authentic that Thai farmhouse. So near Chinese border, the town is called Mong La. So like that house, many houses remain in the village. But on the left, you will see this is the new house, newly built house. But you will see the all exterior features or appearance look very similar to the old ones, but space planning inside is totally different from the old one. So based on functionalism, so it shows that they still maintain the architecture. So it looked like they're reinventing the traditions, but in a very authentic way. And last slide, please. So this is the painting from the pagoda terrace, so that I found in Chaito, Mon State. So that I love that painting. So you can see the village house. So very simple with perishable material houses along the creek, the fisherman village. So, and also people are peaceful, people lives in peaceful coexistence here. So how it would be nice, so peaceful coexistence in here. And I wish so peace be prevail on Myanmar. So thank you.
Thank you, U Aung Soe Myint, for that nice background. I guess we were trying to really establish for people why this is an important issue. We wanted to make sure people who weren't familiar with Burmese teak farmhouses had a feel for, I guess, what we feel is a really interesting subject. And I hope that gives everyone a bit of a status. If you don't mind now, I'm going to move on and take the stage to talk briefly about how WMF got involved in this project and what was the kind of reasoning why. And basically this involves U Aung Soe Myint and I having some conversations for several years. Okay, here we go, next section. The Burmese Farmhouse Project. I'm going to do a little abbreviation of some of this text so it flows faster. Emerged as a vision inspired by the insights and collaboration during another World Monuments Fund project at Dalzhong in Mandalay, which was a restoration project of a monastery, Teakwood Monastery. That project began in 2012 and was active from 2014 to 2020. The Dalzhong project was a remarkable teak monastery, still stands today. Brought together an exceptional team of resolute WMF consultants, craftspeople, local staff, and students. I believe some of those are in the audience today. Given the specific situation, the Dalzhong project and its sister Myanmar project at First Baptist Church of Molamyine WMF recognized the value of engaging a broader group of stakeholders beyond the usual government agencies that tend to have say in heritage. And the circumstances fostered a deeper sense of responsibility and awareness and commitment among civil society groups. That was a kind of direction we took this project as opposed to Dalzhong, which was more under direct regulations of the government. Given the specific circumstances in Myanmar at that time, documenting farmhouses became a clear path forward. This approach aimed to nurture the sense of cultural responsibility that we witnessed at Dalzhong through Burmese people, that would inspire public advocacy and appreciation, not just for vernacular farmhouses, but also to encourage an ongoing vigilance for Dalzhong after our project concluded. So one project created another project, but it also was meant to be something that would improve the chances for sustainability of the Tianaderrah project by nesting the Burmese Teak Farmhouse project into a collaboration with Burmese universities. I'm not going to go through everyone's individual names, but you see them on the screen. While I talk briefly, you can read who they all are and who are the people taking various roles. Unfortunately, the Tianaderrah project abruptly halted during the challenging period marked by COVID-19 pandemic and political unrest. We understood the difficulties that these circumstances posed and tried to adjust to implement the project. However, just before farmhouses could start, Tianaderrah's conclusion actually wasn't the end of the road. It laid the foundations for its daughter's initiative, which is the farmhouse project. One project begot and grew a second project. So as things changed, we changed with them. And for those of you who are Burmese, you know a lot more about that than I do. Despite the pandemic and political upheaval disrupting our original plans for collaboration with Burmese universities, the Burmese Farmhouse Project demonstrated resilience and adaptability, as I was just saying. Our field project team adjusted and formed around former WMF Myanmar project staff, along with current staff from WMF's long-running Wat Chai Watanaran Conservation Project in Thailand. Through all these changes, all remained committed to the project goals, no matter the obstacles and challenges. So just to briefly summarize the people you see on the screen, none of them came out of nowhere. They are people who were involved in the WMF projects in the past. As they had done at Tianaderrah, the Burmese Farmhouse Project was advanced thanks to the generosity of donors, particularly the Tianaderrah Foundation and its supporters, Nellie and Robert Gipson, who have supported both Tianaderrah and farmhouse projects. Their funding allowed us to quietly progress with planning while Myanmar remained closed with COVID-19 sanctions and border closings, and continues to help support our work today. A good recent example of their funding is Kun Pat's impressive longhouse illustration that you saw in U Aung Soe Myint's presentation. As the country reopened, we partnered with the Endangered Wooden Architecture Program, otherwise known as EWAP, at Oxford Brookes University, funded by Arcadia. This important collaboration provided the momentum and the ability for us to organize ourselves to enhance our field methodology and supported the documentation of 20 of the 30 farmhouses we've done. Some of this material, as well as a very nice video, you can see showcased on AWAP's Arches website. As we concluded our first fieldwork phase, we documented 30 farmhouses. That's basically the reason for this presentation today. The initial pilot surveys at Chankalejong village led to work in Chowkacha village, things that my colleague Waraporn will briefly touch on in a moment. These trial and error experiences helped us build capacity, refine our 4-level survey standards, and prepare for our first significant exploration of farmhouse architecture in the Chaitong region of Eastern Shan State. With those Chaitong surveys in mind, I'm going to ask my colleague Waraporn to continue, but beforehand, I just want to make and slip in a brief mention and salute a few people. A few who are inspirational figures who were key to launching the Burmese Teak Farmhouse project, particularly timber framers Laura Sager and Rudy Christian, who I believe are with us today, who shifted my own personal thinking on wooden architecture. It's the best architecture now. Definitely. Thank you for doing that with me. Francois Tianaderrah and India Institute, who through thick and thin, generator or not, keep the light of hope going in Yangon. And finally, my dear colleague, architect U Aung Soe, who was a professor and teacher for U Aung Soe Myint. U Aung Soe left us recently, a few weeks ago, on a peacock headed for that great teakwood monastery in the sky. It was through him and his story that inspiration really became a reality on this project. So, Waraporn, I think you're up. And please take the floor.
Okay. Can I get the slide, please? Thank you very much for the introduction. I am excited to be here to discuss World Monuments Fund's Burmese Farmhouse Documentation Project. In starting the field surveys, Jeff Allen, WMF Program Director, informed us our safety and the security of those we work with is the top priority. That puts some boundaries on where and when we could survey. 2 of the 4 locations we intended to work in for the first phase of 30 farmhouses, unfortunately, remain off limits due to hostilities. With the knowledge of our Burmese colleagues, we found new places to work. Next slide, please. From the map of Myanmar, you can see our survey area. 1 Mandalay Division pilot survey project in Jangalejung village. Of the 4 farmhouses we surveyed last year, 1 is now gone. The homeowners dismantled the old house and built a set of new concrete structure instead. For the southern Chan state, the project moved to measure farmhouses in Kaukasha village, a part of the Pao People's Self-Administration Zone. Our project's first foray into recording Myanmar's architectural ethnic diversity was off limit to non-Burmese, but my Mandalay colleagues, Tete Piel and Naisulai, were able to travel and record 4 farmhouses. Sadly, nowadays, that area is no longer accessible to outsiders, and some of our survey properties may no longer be standing. For the eastern Chan state, the villages in Chaitung region are some of Myanmar's richest in architectural diversity, and fortunately, remain accessible during the course of the project's first phase. The team, a mix of Burmese and Thai WMF participants, coordinated our activities with local authorities who assigned guides to join the surveys. 1 of them was trained and became a survey team member. Next slide, please. Through trial and error, we established a documentation method suited for complex situations and create a model that can be replicated. The project we are engaged in is Burmese Farmhouse Documentation Program, so we mainly focus on a field-based data collection and archive initiative by doing 4 levels. Level 1, rapid documentation, actions and outputs with only limited and short-term access to endangered architecture. This level, we walk around the village to observe vernacular buildings, main features, construction materials, architectural styles, and distinctive elements. We also notice the homeowners, how welcome they are. And for the next slide. Level 2, basic measure documentation. This means recording farmhouses with site access, but limited time to spend on a site. Basic documentation records regional traditions, defines typologies, characterizes and categorizes architecture, and documents the form of a farmhouse complex. This is the example of an AutoCAD drawing by Nopasin Chai Parichat, who runs the measure and makes our project drawings. Next slide, please. For the level 3, comprehensive measure documentation, recording farmhouses with entire exterior and interior access for a prolonged period, focused on creating more accurate AutoCAD architectural drawings and supporting 3D documentation to explain them. These are the examples of the photogrammetric images that I collected photos and rendered with a simple program. I use the Reality program to render the photogrammetry. And this slide, we do the photogrammetry without a drone, but use photos from a phone or normal camera. Next slide, please. And these are the examples of the illustration created by Pacharapong on the left and Tarasan on the right, using AutoCAD drawings and photos on site. They are clear and simple, and people can better understand the house structure. Next slide, please. You can see the style of the farmhouse. It is architecturally unique in both form and characteristics. Next slide, please. This 3D section mainly shows the structure from the bottom to the top. In Chai Tong, sandstone blocks are used as solid base for the vertical stilts and posts that support the farmhouses. It is customary to lay stones or concrete first to support the pillars and prevent termites. The layout consists of the two floors. The ground floor, usually an open space used for storage or a chicken farm, while the second floor consists of the main living spaces and bedrooms. The roof is covered with cave ties with bamboo or wood underneath and is attached to a wooden rafter network, supported by vertical posts. Clay ties are used for the roofs. Most materials are joined together using traditional joints, and some parts use nails. And for this slide, this axonometric illustration shows 3D layers of the house, the body of the house, the roof structure, and the roof material. This house is in Chai Tong district. It is 90 years old and representative of the Thai Khun or Thai Khun ethnic group. 3 bedrooms, a kitchen area, and a storage area are separated from the main building. The outhouse for the keeping rice sack and stuff is situated at the southwest corner of the house. In Chai Tong, the houses are oriented to face the main circulation route, and each has low fence surrounding the house and a kitchen garden. There are no ceilings, so the roof structure is clearly visible. And this house is 40 years old. It's aesthetically outstanding and well thought out. A broad veranda connects the landing stairs to living area, and second perpendicular corridor leads to a self-standing stores and kitchen structure. A granary is close to the kitchen and storage buildings. Next slide, please. And this is the last level, level 4 comprehensive measured documentation with ethnographic studies. This level builds on level 3 documentation, creating a comprehensive record of the endangered farmhouse architecture, considering the culture and practices that have shaped it. This is the photo of Tetepio asking the homeowner to sign the consent letter to give us permission to survey and study their house. And the next slide, please. This is the photo of the homeowner with Tetepio and Naisulang in Gaukasha village. And next slide, please. Analyzing spatial patterns of the house and context. This level 4 study how traditional settlements are organized, such as layout and houses, communal spaces, and agricultural areas. It examines how these layouts support social interactions and cultural practices. And the last slide, please. This is the longhouse in Mueang La, 6 families with 25 people live in the same house. That's very interesting. So our goal is to preserve cultural heritage, identify building and sites of cultural and historical importance, and guide conservation and preservation efforts. This is particularly important in areas where vernacular architecture is under threat from modernization or abandonment. Thank you very much for your time and your attention.
Thank you, Waraporn. You know, we're running a little bit behind time, so I'm just going to ask you one question on that. As you know, we've focused on mainly level 2 and 3 surveys. When we started this project, we thought at best we might be able to do level 2. The support we've had from people is amazing. You might want to mention that briefly about your experiences with people, but I also am particularly interested in some of the issues about how they deter termites, the issues of using wasp nests and chickens. Can you just briefly mention that? Because that's a great way to sign off, to talk about the cleverness and how we're going to proceed with this level 4 survey activity in the next section of the project, please.
Okay, for the people, we are very lucky because they are very welcome us and happy that we survey and work in their house. They also like give us foods and cook for us. Like they make a special meal, like we are their guests. And for the Chankalejung in Mandalay, it's quite difficult for me because I cannot speak Burmese, but Tete Pio can translate for me. But for the Chaitong area, we can understand each other. I speak Thai and they speak Thai Khern. It's not exactly the same language, but we understand each other. Some words are similar, some words different. And for the your question about the termite, right?
Yes.
For the termite, okay. The sala or technician, house technician in Chaitong, they call sala. They put the sandstone block or concrete block first, and then put the post on top of the blocks to protect the termite. Because when the termite come up, they come up first on the sandstone, and they treat the chicken. They have the chicken, so the chicken will eat the termite before they come up on the post. It's quite funny, but it's like a local wisdom.
Right. Thank you very much. I'm going to thank you for sharing this important work that you led on the ground. And before we move into a brief Q&A section, where we'll open up some questions from our attendees, I wanted to thank both of you, U Aung Soe Myint and Waraporn, for spending some time with us. I see there's a lot of questions, so I'm going to skip asking anything more and jump directly to the audience to catch some people before they leave. Please, let's get some questions going here. There was a question I saw about where we're going to survey. I just wanted to add to that and answer that question. A lot of where we survey is where we can nowadays. Myanmar is not the country it was a little while ago. And so we're going where we can. We were very lucky with Chaitong that Chaitong was an area where we have support from local administrators, allow us to work there. We have plans for other places. I should say that my vision, least of this project, I don't know about donors, is it's a 10-year project. We want to use the first phase where we establish the methodology, and we want to go around and we want to basically record the ethnic diversity and the seen an amazing amount of architecture. So, U Aung Soe Myint, do you want to add something to that or pick up on one of the questions that someone asked?
Yes, please.
Please, sir. your view about diversity in the architecture that we see and what has happened since sumptuary laws that have allowed people to express themselves in new ways. Do you have any thoughts about that?
So this is not only in Burma and in other country also during the kings. So you also can see in other countries that sumptuary laws, but in here, so not only for the house, for the staying, so not only for the house, but also clothing according to the social standing. So, and even for the funerary ceremony, the rituals also controlled by the king and some restrictions. So, and for me, let me emphasize on house. So normally the king restricted the type of house totally different from the Raya code. So, and also the roof, starting with the roof style, so very basic pitch roof, that's all. Not only for that, but also and gilding is not allowed, but king granted to paint with lacquer or the other paint to the pillars, maybe like a cinema. So that's all with the permission of the king. But the people from the Raya Code allowed to use that indoor count or just like a gabled roof. And according to social status or king blessing, they can use another one more tier roof, or next step, maybe 1 tier to 4 tier roof. So not only for that, so the location of the staircase. So commoners' houses, king not allow staircase to enter for the still house upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
King, the royal allowed them to go up from the side, not from the directly to the room from the facade. This is also very important in the house, and they are not allowed any masonry works for the commoner house. So not masonry means maybe with stone masonry or thick brick walls, so just like a battlement. So, and also like a fortification. So they are not allowed that battlement like a defensive architecture.
Mm-hmm.
They are not allowed. This is also the reason why at the time, so very difficult to say about even in the Raya family who will kill them. So this is very sensitive issue. So that time, that's why very strict sumptuary laws, and ordinary people's, so, and the Raya code is totally different status. So that's why this is about the sumptuary laws.
Thank you. Waraporn, can I ask you a question from the audience? Someone has asked, how did you consider community participation in this documentation process? Did you just come to their houses and say, we'd like to survey your house? Or what kind of interaction typically are you having to get to the point where someone who doesn't really know you lets you spend a day or two in their house? Can you spend a few moments on that?
Okay. I give the example of Chai Tong area. We have the local guide His name is Gosai, and he know people in the village. And when he walk and see them, he like introduce us and like talk about the purpose, why we want to work. And that's I think local people open their mind easily because they know Gosai
Yeah, he's a
before.
local person. You know,
Yes.
one of the things I was concerned about, and I think U Aung Soe Myint was as well when we first started this idea in Chankalejon, was we knew the settlement. We've met people there before, but I was amazed that they let you just basically camp out, and everyone seemed to be very happy that you were there. Given the political events and things that have happened in Myanmar, it's quite surprising that the average person is still very Burmese in many ways, just very open, very friendly. Do you, either one of you want to comment on that at all?
I think one of the things that local peoples and like the neighbors like quite trust in us because we didn't use anything that let them scare. Like we don't have a drone or big camera. We just use the like a phone to take a photo. We keep everything like a low profile.
Yeah,
And
that was
like a
part of our strategy, wasn't it? We wanted
yeah.
to minimize that kind of thing. Not to mention the fact that if you tried to fly a drone around today, it would be a bit tricky and be problematic, right? Well, so man, I want to ask you a question. Somebody sent this. I think it's a really interesting question. Communal living, the social foundations of the longhouse is becoming a rarity in Myanmar. Can we transfer the learnings of these studies to housing typologies in the future that can respond to current needs in society in Myanmar or elsewhere? Do you have any thoughts on that?
So that kind of communal house, so like that many family live together in Palang as well. So Palang is the people who live in northern Thailand and in China as well. So their house are also in forms. So basic form is totally different from the Thai people. So but Kachin, so they have the long house, but not this owned by the one family with very big and long house, not like Palang and Thai Loy. So, but especially for the Thai Loy house, I think all these houses were under the threat of some things renovated or reused zinc sheet on top. When I was there in 2007, I found many thatch roof. The way they use the thatch is very complicated, just like a straw thatch, very thick thatch. So it can be replaced. So in 10 years or more. So they re-roofing on top again and again, but it's a time consuming and labor intensive, and even maybe 10 or 12 years replacing of roof, it needs too much intensive workers and skilled worker. Even that kind of straw thatch are now scarcity in scarcity. So they easily not replace, they put the zinc sheet on top. So some of the houses. So according to their needs, and so they are using that kind of zinc sheet because zinc sheets are quite light and easily can put on top, and existing straw thatch, so serve as an insulation. So now we are facing that kind of problem for that longhouse.
By the way, I just want to take a couple quick ones to answer some people. One was, have you researched a bit about Myanmar traditional bamboo architecture? I just wanted to add to that, if you're still out there, Raphael, that yes, our initial structures were wood, but in the last surveys, Waraporn could add to that, we did start to do bamboo houses. So just to mention a kind of process of how we do this, typically there is either a reconnaissance trip in advance or somebody like Waraporn is in the field sending photos back to U Aung Soe Myint and I, and U Aung Soe Myint advises on the priorities from what he sees in the photos. And we've started to begin to do bamboo houses. Do either one of you want to comment about bamboo as part of our documentation process?
We finished 2 bamboo houses. I'm not sure the ethnicity and that like a thatched, and one Lua people and Lua people for the bamboo.
Another quick answer I can give to the question is, what is the deconstructibility of these structures? Could these be a method of preserving them? You know, I won't get into a long talk that U Aung Soe Myint and I had, but it was U Aung Soe Myint who dismantled 13 farmhouses for a project he was doing. That impressed me, that those houses can be dismantled and reassembled somewhere else. Do you want to say a few moments about the reassembly or the portability of Burmese farmhouses?
So let me explain to the quick explained in brief. Actually, I found near Naypyidaw very beautiful farmhouses there. The first time I visited there around in 2006, and then few months later I went on the same road going to Mandalay. So newly built, the half paved road, new highway road, and I found some of the building were missing. Then I checked at the village, stopped the car and checked the village, because the developer, so they need seasoned wood for the construction, especially for the timber frame, chocket, or the wood panels. So they went to the village, bought that kind of house in timber price, and they brought in the woodworking machine and cut into pieces, and then also fabricated on site, and then brought to the site. So that kind of beautiful house missing day by day. And then I decided I persuaded my client to buy like that houses. So I went to some villages and bought that. It's some houses in different type, and then marking and take photo record, but at that time not for the academic purpose, only based on commercial. So not like today's academically thoroughly documentation process. So because I need its exterior appearance, original authenticity, but I change all the planning inside. So for the new requirements. So this is the story. So then I can know when dismantling, I can see the very wonderful wood joinery in some houses. Some are very simple, only 2 houses. The joinery are very wonderful.
You want to
So
add
that's-
something to that, your case where you dismantled these farmhouses and relocated them to a development is what inspired me to come to you initially and say, this is, a really interesting idea, but also because of the threat. Can you mention something briefly about how we examined wood joinery? One of the slides I showed had a picture of a really amazing, complicated joint.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that? Our colleague in Thailand, Kun Sun Tan, has published a book recently on
Yes.
joinery.
Most of the joinery of the Burmese timber joinery, so maybe later times, so maybe 100 years ago, or maybe 80 or 70 years ago, so influenced by the Western carpentry. Some also very similar to the Chinese carpentry, though the house were very old. Only some kind of joinery is so unique. So, and I also discussed with consultant so about that in between flexible block, so for the king post for the roof. So, and he explained about the Thai way of joinery for the king posts, and I also show the how Burmese people joint. So little bit different, though we are very close in culture and nature, and even the type of woods or every weathers are the same. But one thing on my mind, so let me explain about that. So Burmese people, why building the house, they consider the house as a living thing. So that's why they put horoscope of the house the day they build, the hour they build. So written on a paper, written on a cloth, and or maybe on leather sheet. When on the post, so the longest post till the roof, you will see mortise and tenon to join the main rafter plate. So on that area, they put as some cushioning together. This is called the house horoscope. In Burmese, Yechok Zata, Zata, they call it. So this is also very interesting.
Thank you for that. I'm sorry, but we've got to move on. So there are a lot of interesting questions. All three of us could probably talk on for hours about this. But we have to move on to our next appointment. I wanted to thank everybody out there who joined us, particularly our donors today, and there's a whole list of questions. I'll see what I can answer and send back to people when there's time available this week. And so I want to thank my colleagues, Waraporn and U Aung Soe Myint. And let's carry on for our next assignment, okay? And everyone keep an eye out there. Burmese Teak Farmhouse is going to continue. It's not going to go away. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.